YouTube, what's up? For those of you who don't know me, my name is Isaac Swinehart. I'm an Olympic recurve archer, currently ranked 8th in the nation, I think. I just want to do a little video on a new sight that I got. It's actually the same sight that I've been using, but it's a backup for my new Prodigy riser that I got. And just want to show you a few little things on it when you get the package. It comes in a soft case like this. Got Axcel up there on the front. You open it up and you've got a small pouch here in the top that has your owner's manual, always helpful. What else do we have? We've got sight tapes here for different distances if you're doing like field or 3D target stuff. Get an iron-on and another decal. Let's see what else. One more thing. No, it's just a check sheet. Okay. For the sight itself, it comes velcroed in to the bottom of the case. The Axcel sight is without a doubt the most adjustable sight on the market, and probably the toughest too. Their motto is it's built like a tank, and I can attest to that. I've dropped my bow, I've seen other people drop it with this sight on it and pick it up and shoot it again, and with little to no problems. I got mine with the silver and black. I decided to go different from my other one because I have the all black razor. Kind of figured I'd do a little bit of a color scheme to it, see where that goes. As far as elevation and everything else, they have the micro adjust. You can hear it. This sight normally retails for about $335 through Lancaster or something like that. So it's not your beginner sight. It's a very, very well made sight, and people use them all over the world, Olympians and everywhere in between. Also in here we have a smaller bag. You get your 2 Allen bolts, a Allen wrench right here, you get a nut, and this mounting block. Now, this mounting block is for your aperture. Get it out here. And right now I've just got my Titan scope that I'll use. What you do, you simply hold it and thread it in. These, I believe, are standard threads, so if you lose the nut or it breaks or you strip it, you can find them relatively easily. Make sure when you are setting it up that the sight of your scope is in the correct way, so you can turn it either way, but it'll only work one way. Make sure the deepest part of the housing, if you're using a scope, is towards you and not like that to where you're seeing the O-ring, because otherwise that'll kind of mess up your vision a little bit and it'll get a glare on the lens. That's not fun. So once you've got it onto the sight block, you can screw it in to where you think you'll need it, or if you have another sight, you can compare it and put it in there, and then you'll take your nut, get it out, and take your nut and you put it on the back side. You can see where the spot where there's no anything else. Put it back there and just thread that down, because otherwise your sight is just going to do this. It's just going to flop around. You don't want that happening in the middle of a competition. I've had that before. Nut came loose. So then you just tighten it up. Of course, I'd use a wrench or a pair of pliers, something like that, to tighten it up. But then that way your sight is not going to turn. Okay, but of course I finger tightened it. Once you have it set there, you can take your sight, and this here is your lock. You'll just unscrew it until the ball head is away from the top to where it's flush, and just slide that in there. And there's a groove, you'll notice, right in the top of the mounting block too, that fits in there, and that's where your knob, of course, is going to contact and lock it into place. So, I mean, right there, that thing's not going anywhere. These things are great. You can shoot months on end without having to take it apart or do anything to it. On an Axcel, they have the variable tension system, which is right here. And to adjust that, you would take an Allen wrench and you would loosen this right here, this small screw, and you would move this gear, which actually has teeth on the inside up in here, and you can tighten it by moving it one of the directions, I can't remember, but that's how you do it. So if you feel like when you're clicking and it's just too hard, because sometimes they come set from the factory fairly hard, you'll want to move that. Also, they have the quick release up here, I call it, and all you have to do is press it and it'll slide up and down the sight scale with ease. So if you're shooting 3D or field and you're moving from a 20-yard target where you're up here down to a 40 or a 50-yard target, you'll want to do that instead of having to sit there for 5 minutes and crank and crank. I've seen people do it. It takes way too much time and it's annoying. As far as the sight block, you can mount it in either hole on the other four that are on the actual block itself. Your riser always has 2 holes here in the back. I don't know of any riser that has 4. There may be one out there eventually, but a lot of people, they'll mount them back here to where it's just kind of like this, but 2 hanging off the back. I usually like to mount mine right here, so it's just a little bit more stable and flush on the bow. Plus, if you're using a micro adjust clicker, which is using pretty much the same system as this with micro clicking, they'll go behind that. They'll go between this block right here and the riser itself. So that'll lock it a little bit more in place. Excuse me. If you're shooting like a really different poundage bow or heavier arrows, you can move your sight. You can actually move it up and down with these different mounting holes right here. There's a whole bunch of them drilled into the back. So if you're shooting really light arrows, you can move the bar down on the sight scale. If you're using really heavy arrows, move it up. Like if you're shooting indoor and you just don't have enough clearance, you think, which I don't see that ever happening, but that's because I shoot 48.5. You can do that if you feel like it. That's really about it with this sight. It's a fairly basic and simple sight, but it's got its quirks to it, and if you know how to use them to your advantage, then that's great. That'll definitely give you an advantage on the field, especially with a longer sight bar. You're going to be more accurate and your groups are going to be better. So, hope y'all enjoyed it. If you have any questions, comment below. Remember to like and subscribe, and keep it in the gold.